Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and it's an early kick-off this morning on this summer Saturday. Celtic are now going to be playing their third friendly of the 2025-26 campaign, and we line up in Portugal against Estrela de Amadora, and it's a behind closed doors game, and Celtic will be unveiling for the second time Mr. Kieran Tierney. KT is back, and I'm back. I'm back in the studio today after a 1 week break, which was really enjoyable. Thanks everybody for sticking with us throughout that period. But today I'm on my own. I'm flying solo, and we're here, of course, to give you the pre-match build-up to Celtic's third pre-season friendly. How's it been so far? Let us know in the comments section as Jungle Lion dives right in and says second Tierney debut. Yes, it is. And I did think for a wee while there that Celtic were going to hold on to the Kieran Tierney second debut until the Newcastle game and use that to shift a wee bit more the tickets that are still available there. We're going to be running through the starting 11 and also where we are. This is just a bit of a bounce game, isn't it? It's about getting game time in the legs, as were the previous two. Come on the hoops. Yes, you're watching on X, just to prove that we do see all the different comments coming up, regardless of what platform you're on. And this comes from Lips Alive, Magoo Galux. Yes, thank you very much for the easy rolling off the tongue name, and you're welcome to comment. Come on the hoops, indeed. Just hoping, says Gordon Coney, a much easier name to pronounce on the YouTube. Just hoping Tierney gets through the game unscathed. Well, that's been a massive talking point, hasn't it? And it's divided opinion on him coming back to the football club. Some people don't think that he is able to play 30 games a season. And I'm confident that he will be able to do that. Yes, I know it's about minutes, but if you're fit enough to play 60, you're fit enough to play 90, aren't you? If you're on the bench, you're fit enough to play. Richie's Pete, here we go. Where can I watch this? It's on Celtic TV. Celtic TV are screening the game, and I watched the previous two friendly matches on Celtic TV, actually. And all joking aside, I thought that at half-time, what Celtic TV should be doing, obviously you're paying for a subscription there, what they should be doing is going back to some kind of studio setup whereby they have a halftime analysis show. Now, I know that in terms of budget, we have nothing near what Celtic has, but we can still do a halftime analysis of the game, a pre-match analysis, a post-match. It doesn't matter what competition the game is being played in, be that a pre-season friendly, a behind closed doors friendly like today, or a Champions League game. I just think we need to have the studio set up. I think we need to invest a wee bit more in that, not just financially, but in the creative diversity of ideas when it comes to the media landscape. We are paying for Celtic TV. We didn't get that. We got a rerun from the weekly podcast. Nice backdrop, by the way, on the podcast. Nice green lighting and shelving system they've got on there as well. Yes, River Sea, it's pretty warm out there, isn't it? And there's somebody just about 20 yards away from me cutting their grass this morning. So apologies if the mic picks any of that up. Looking forward to seeing the boys, Simon Fedeni. Interestingly enough, just on my way from Edinburgh, I bumped into Brian O'Neill, not the Brian O'Neill who indeed scored against Rangers as a Celtic player under Lou McCarry, but Brian O'Neill from the same kind of place as Simon is typing, from the area, Denny, Camlin, Falkirk, that area, Grangemouth. And we had a right good discussion about some of the heroes from that area, including, of course, Neely Mockin and Brian McLaughlin, as well as John Sludden, Simon. So I'm pretty sure those names are familiar to you. Do you know Brian? We had a right good chat, actually, about Acsom and Celtic and everything else that came to mind. I didn't see any of these T-shirts when I was on holiday, by the way. Disappointed, but if you do want to buy one, there is a link underneath this video. There's the shameless plug. Right, I'm going to bring this up, actually, because this word negativity... just because someone doesn't have the exact same view as you doesn't make them negative. I'm hearing this all the time online. Someone doesn't agree with you, which means you're negative. Absolutely is not the case. Jim has concerns about the manager, the fact that the manager hasn't signed a new contract. How is that negative? That's simply a concern that Jim and many other Celtic supporters have. Jim has concerns about the lack of activity in the transfer window so far. Why not? because let's be honest, we've lost 2 first-team starters in Greg Taylor and in Nicholas Kuhn. And albeit Kieran Tierney has come back, we still don't have a backup for him. Nicholas Kuhn has not been replaced. Nygren apparently is a number 10. Hopefully we'll see him today. So I think that people are now of a view that they want to tune into a show. They want to hear exactly what they think. And if you don't say what they think, then you're negative. Absolutely not. I was in the show. There was no negativity. There are concerns. Football fans are concerned. We've been concerned since the beginning of time. At school, at work, on the supporters bus, in a pub after the game, during the game. We talk about our concerns. And that isn't being negative, the boys. So thanks for your comment. But the reason I brought that up, I had the same conversation with 1 or 2 commenters. It's not being negative. This is not an echo chamber. We welcome a differing viewpoint. We welcome a bit of discourse. Jim wasn't being negative yesterday, absolutely not. And if you watch it back, maybe he just disagreed with the points that you have yourself. Greetings from County Clare in Ireland. Absolutely, Paul Hogan. It's always great to hear from Celtic's Irish fan base. And I think that this annual trip to Ireland should continue. Sligo Rovers it was last year, Cork City this year. We need to keep it going. Brendan, you're on the YouTube. Hail to you as well. Brilliant to see Kieran back. It is. I'm really looking forward to seeing him in action like everyone else. I've been looking at all the snippets and the photographs and everything else. I am back, Liam, absolutely 100%. I'm back. And yeah, I said yesterday, there's going to be big changes at Acsom as well. We'll always be here at 12:30. It's always going to be the bulletin. But in terms of how we film it, is going to be different, Liam. So we're working on that. But there's obviously a massive logistical challenge that we're overcoming in terms of the venue, the equipment, and the know-how, the technical know-how to get that up and running. We will be streaming live. It'll be a live broadcast rather than a dial-in. So everybody's going to be in the same room in a studio. That's what the Acsom bulletin is going to be looking like very, very soon. Paul McGurk, yes, the KT return seems to have got a lot of people interested. That's why I thought they were going to do it for Newcastle, but he obviously needs the game time. Let's run through the team, and then we will get more of your views coming through across all the different social media platforms. Follow us on all of them, your Facebook, Twitter or X, LinkedIn, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, and anywhere else you are able to find us. A starting 11, and we'll dig into this in a little more detail. Sinisalo starts in goals. We've got Donovan, McPherson, Trusty and Tierney making up the back 4. The midfield is McGregor, McEwen and Hatate. And then up top, interestingly, we've got Tilio. Remember him, Maida playing through the middle, and Osmond. In fact, I think Maida might play on the left with Osmond through the middle, getting his first start since coming to the football club from Fulham. He was a second-half substitute, of course, against Cork City, and got a bit of the ball. And I want to talk about every one of those players starting the game individually, and I'll come to Osmond. On the bench, we've got Duhan, Clark, Rice, Scales, Nygren, Ida. Good to see that he's back from that little niggle that kept him out of the previous 2 games. Yang, who we've not seen so far in the pre-season. Kenny, Inamura, Engels, Summers, Montgomery, Ure, Murray, Forrest, McArdle, Ralston, and Izzy Guzo. When I saw that this morning, I thought another Celtic player had returned in Izzy Geary. But it's not about him. It's about another left-back today, and it's about Kieran Tierney. Now, obviously, the big discussion point about Tierney, and it's been raging on in the comments discussion, is that we've bought someone who is injury-prone. Yes, he suffered his injuries, and we hope that they do not re-emerge. Greg Taylor left over the last week whilst I was away, and he's not been replaced because, as it stood, I would have been pretty happy with Kieran Tierney as your first pick left back with Greg Taylor behind him. At the moment, obviously, we will be trying out some of the young players within the squad. Whether or not any of them are at that level remains to be seen. But one player who did play, and I thought played really well actually the other night, albeit against opposition that wasn't a huge challenge, was our new signing, Inamura. Now, going back to that comment earlier on, let's just look at the facts in relation to that signing. And without even giving an opinion, we can agree on the facts. And the facts are that, Kieran Tierney was wanted by Celtic in January. Celtic have gone down, and it was well publicised at the time, to London to sign Kieran Tierney in January, not in a pre-contract, sign him so that he can compete in the Champions League and for our treble quest as it was at the time, but it was not to be. We weren't able, because I don't think Arsenal were willing to sell him. We weren't able to get that deal over the line, so we got the pre-contract done and dusted. And then the backup was, of course, Jeffrey Schlupp. There are rumours that he is going to West Bromwich Albion. Will Mickey Johnson be leaving for Brazil? Probably not, after everything that happened there. But anyway, Schlupp was an emergency left back. We had already paved the way for Tierney coming in by letting Alex Bailly leave the football club for potential opponents, Como, who obviously Kuhn has gone to. So there's a lot of linkage here. So we had paved the way for Tierney to come in on a full-time basis, couldn't get the deal done, and we brought in Schlupp to see us through to the end of the season. So that's where we are. Now, with regards to Taylor, the facts of the matter are, Brendan Rodgers said a number of times, I want to keep Greg Taylor at the football club. We didn't do it. So these are not, we're not being negative. This is just facts. Brendan Rodgers wanted Tierney in January, didn't get him. Brendan Rodgers wanted to keep Greg Taylor, didn't get him. Brendan Rodgers wanted to replace Kyogo with another centre forward, it didn't happen. And Brendan Rodgers didn't sign Inamura. All you need to do is look at the comments before the game where Celtic have paraded him as the number 25. Who do you think of when you see that number? Of course, it's Thomas Ronya. Number 25, in comes Inamura. He's paraded as a first-time team signing, 250 grand. And then you hear Brendan Rodgers, and Brendan Rodgers is saying he's a young kid, we'll have a look at him, we might loan him out. So not quite fed proportions in terms of he's no my boy, but he's put it out there. Then he plays him, and he plays him against Cork City. And I was really impressed. And yeah, all the caveats of the day, opposition, competition, etc., etc. But what I liked about Inamura was the fact that he was on the front foot. What I mean by that, when he receives the ball, he's ready to play it forward. And 99 times out of 100, he will play it forward. There was a couple of occasions where he had to go back. There was not an option on. Now, my biggest criticism, because you can have a criticism without being negative, my biggest criticism of Greg Taylor, based on the data, is that he passed the ball back far too often. He had to go forward more often to keep the move and keep the rhythm and keep the attack going. He didn't do it enough for me, although I would have still kept him. Anyway, Inamura did it. He looked good in doing it. He was a very offensive player. There were a couple of excellent through balls that he played as well. And after the game, Brendan confirmed, oh, well, actually, he's maybe a wee bit better than I thought he was. So these are just facts that have happened. It's not being negative. Brendan Rodgers hasn't got exactly what he wanted. You might say what manager does. And Inamura didn't look to be his signing. Why is that negative to say that? The concern comes in because we have just shelled out two centre-halves who have been at the football club for 2 years that Brendan Rodgers didn't want. Gustav Lagerbielke, Mike Nawrocki have both left the building. Lagerbielke on a permanent transfer. It's taken 2 years and a 1 year loan to get that deal done. Nawrocki is a year behind in terms of the development of his transfer. So he's just going out on loan, and maybe after the next year, he will leave the football club. That's £7.3 million worth of transfers that Brendan Rodgers didn't sanction. He didn't want. Now, I know you could go back to his original press conference where he says that he's got the final say on all the players, but we also know that's not the case. Marco Tilio, who starts today, spoke about when Celtic first approached him 2 years before Brendan Rodgers came into the building. Marco Tilio was a Citigroup stroke Ange Postecoglou signing. There was a legacy signing that happened after the event. That's what happens. Paul Lambert and Craig Burley were Tommy Burns identified players who signed under Wim Jansen. These are things that happen in football. It's not being negative to suggest it. So there is a concern, A, in Brendan Rodgers' future at the club because he hasn't signed a new contract, and B, the recruitment. And I think that's fair because we've got a Champions League qualifier. We've lost 2 first-team pick players from the squad. We've only replaced them with 1. We're a left-back down, we're still a forward down, and we haven't replaced Nicholas Kuhn. That's not being negative. That's just where we are right now. Kenny McArdle, in you come, Kenny, and you are looking forward to seeing KT as well. There is another McArdle, not just Kenny, but there is a Sean McArdle on the bench as well. Any relation, Kenny? Looking forward to seeing the kid and all the other kids breaking in during these pre-season games. It's about the only time that we get to see them. Everybody's looking forward to seeing Kieran Tierney. Joe Hamilton, here we go. Hail, hail, troops. A day when Celtic play is a good day. The sun is shining. The sun is shining outside. The grass is being cut outside. It is a great day. Celtic are back. Kieran Tierney's back. And the footnote of that is that I'm also back in my usual surroundings as well. Les Watts, let's bring you in. Here we go. Had to give up your Sky subscription, so I'll be more reliant on Acsom. Are there going to be watch-alongs? Les, what I was saying earlier on is we are going to shake things up. The live stream will happen, but it won't look like this. This is a dial-in, and we're going to have a live broadcast, which works in pretty much the same way, but it's going to be multi-camera. You'll have the long shot, you'll have the close-up of myself and my co-contributor, and we will be talking all things Celtic from 12:30 to 1:30 every single day. What it will then do is it will give us the scope to extend that show. People might be thinking, how on earth can you have more than an hour a day about Celtic? Well, trust me, I come off the bulletins when I'm not on holiday and I'm hosting. I come off the bulletins and there's a number of different topics of discussion that haven't been covered every day, every single day. We'll be keeping an eye on the breaking news as well. We'll be bringing in guests who are not Acsom contributors, ex-players, journalists. We might even bring in fans of other clubs. Shock and horror, because it is good to get a sense of, for example, going into the cup final, a couple of Aberdeen fans I know, maybe get one of them in, speak to them before the game. What are their concerns about us as the opposition? What's the strength and their optimism about their own club? All that kind of stuff. We're going to be adding that in. But for the 1 hour between 12:30 and 1:30, in terms of the topics of conversation and the faces that you will see and the voices that you will hear, that will all be the same. Yes, absolutely. And I think that during the games, Les, if we're in the studio, then it would make sense to do the watch along. We can't show the footage for obvious reasons, but watch along and reactions, etc. We have done them in the past, and I think we will do them again. We'll just need to wait and see. We'll play that one by ear, Les. But in terms of subscriptions, there are so many, aren't there, when it comes to where you want to watch your football. It could be Premier Sports, it could be Sky Sports, Celtic TV, one-off PPV games, on top of Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus. There's so many now, the way that media has changed, Les. And it would be great. Celtic should lead the way. It would be great, going back to the media side of things, if you could subscribe, if you're unable to get a season ticket, wherever you are in the world, if you could subscribe to a platform and watch Scottish football live. How great would that be? Other countries have that option. We don't seem to be able to do that, Les. We need to buy a variety of subscriptions, and it costs a fortune. Liam, you're in. Let's bring in much more comments because I am flying solo today. Liam Devine, 4 derbies, 2 semi-finals, 2 finals, 2 CL qualifiers, and 8 CL league phase games. If Tierney is fit for those 18 games, he's our best signing in a long time. I think he comes to Scottish football as the best player in Scotland, Liam. I've said that before. People think it's rhetoric. People think it's hyperbolic. He is the best footballer in Scottish football as we speak, as we sit here right now. We keep him fit. We manage his game time. And I think that he will be an absolute star for us. And we're bringing him back. It's not as though he's 32, 33 years of age. And I know that a lot of people are not finished by then. He's 27. Could be in his prime. I always remember that, thinking about players coming into their prime. Gordon, yeah, we're going to run through the team in more detail, but Nygren is on the bench, and I'm looking forward to seeing him as well, Gordon. Yes, he may be an adaptable player, but when we signed him, we ran a show, 1 in, 1 out, I think was the tagline, and it was about the fact that Nygren had joined the club just at the beginning of this month, or just at the end of June. He was announced as a Celtic player around about the time that we heard about the interest from Leipzig and Como. There was some earlier interest from Newcastle and I think West Ham and Nicholas Kuhn, but I'm not sure how serious that was. He got his move, didn't he? And my view on it was Nygren could play in that position. Many others have told me that he is probably better suited as a creative midfielder, a number 10, playing behind the forward. Not something I don't think that we have a perfect fit for at the moment. Rio Atati probably the best suited to that position from the squad. So I am also looking forward to seeing him as well, just to see where we play him, actually. Mark Riley. In you come, Mark. There we go. Nice jersey on your avatar. You're commenting on the YouTube. I hope you're enjoying the sunshine. Maybe you're having a little refreshment, a little sherbet out the back garden. Maybe it's a wee bit too early. I don't know. I'm not going to push alcohol to anyone, but what I will point out is, again, see behind that, right? And I'll maybe show you them in close-up, right? There's 3 items on that shelf. That one there, this isn't easy to get the finger underneath the actual item. That is a Mike Galloway glass. So it's a pint glass for his testimonial, which was gifted to me by the very kind Peter Marshall. Next to that is an unopened bottle of Magners, who at the time sponsored Celtic. And I was asked to play in a charity game organised by Magners. There must have been several players down, and they gave you that. And it was a personalised bottle of Magners, which will never be opened. And then yesterday, this is absolutely 100% true, a bottle of Eldorado arrived through my door in a very padded parcel. And in that parcel was all this merchandise from Eldorado, right? So there's sun hats. It's like a festival kit. The Celtic warm-up jersey is not part of it, unfortunately. I'd love it to be part of it. In fact, the first day in the studio, I think I'm going to wear the long sleeve of that just to freak everybody out. Yeah, so it's a festival pack. There's sunglasses and all this kind of stuff. I think there's a T-shirt, all this. There's a tote bag. And the creme de la creme within this bag, there's a bottle of Eldorado tonic wine. Not only that, and I'll bring it down closer maybe when I have time, they've actually got a one-off unique label, and it's a Celtic state of mind. Now, I'm not saying go out and drink tonic wine, particularly at 10 to 11 on a Saturday morning, wherever you are in the world, but it was very kind of them to send that through to us, probably in hope that we mention it. So here we go. Matt Riley, made it in KT on the left will be exciting. Cannot disagree with that. Need to see more of Inamura and get a good look at Nygren. Will this give us a hint of the working new formation? Is there going to be a new formation? I've heard a lot of that chat, Mark. And yeah, Kieran Tierney, we know, can play left back. He can also play left centre back. We don't particularly have a backup left back, if you were to go by the comments prior to the Cork City game. But then Inamura is played there and plays really well. You hope now and again that these players that come in for that kind of fee, 250 grand, right? It's loose change to a club like Celtic. Let's be honest. We took a £1 million punt on a player called Kwon, and he's never played a competitive game of football for Celtic. Last year we bought him for £1 million, just like that. 250 grand. When was the last time? It does happen that we brought in a player around about that fee. I'm thinking Jeremy Frimpong was 300 grand, right? Yeah, he came from the Man City Academy, and there's a lot of talent there. They seem to like hoover up players from all over the world, put them into the under-23s, and many of them are loaned out perennially until they leave the football club. Frimpong, 300 grand, unbelievable bit of business. Another one, of course, would be Chris Commons from Derby County, different kind of player. We were basically recruiting a lot of players from the second tier English football at that time and doing it very, very well, actually. Joe Ledley, Gary Hooper, Chris Commons, these guys were all coming in and doing very well for Celtic. Fraser Foster came from that division as well at the time when he was at Newcastle, I believe. And then, of course, Lubo Moravcik. Some thought we should have signed John Spencer, but we signed Lubo for 300 grand, and that turned out all right. You look at the 250 and you think, I mean, how good's this guy going to be in this day and age? £250,000. Now and again, I think, from all these punts, there's going to be a gem. There is going to be a gem. And I think that, I'm not going to get too excited after 45 minutes of football on a friendly. But it would be good if Inamura is that player. I would like to see more of a Mark like yourself. And I definitely want to see Nygren making his debut today, as well as KT making his second debut. Jay Conley, Jay Larkin is waiting on his goodie bag. Actually, I could send you it. I could send you the goodie bag, Jay Conley, Jay Larkin, along with a few other things, maybe even one of these T-shirts. Let me know if you like that one, because I do know that there's been a promise that I need to send something out to you, and it's on a to-do list. Morning all, looking forward to the game. Any team news, absolutely love it, Scouts. It's Sinisalo, Donovan, McPherson, Trusty, and Tierney, McGregor, McEwen, and Hatati, with Tillio, Maeda, and Osmond. What don't we know about the back five? Well, we've not seen a great deal of Sinisalo. I know there was a great, with hindsight, comment in and around the fact that perhaps he shouldn't have been taken back out of the team last season. Was that based on what happened in the final? Probably a wee bit. But we did discuss it leading into the game. Should Sinisalo keep the gloves for the final? I made a bizarre comment. I mean, it was pretty, with hindsight, obviously, that maybe we should have brought him on before the penalty shootout, if indeed Big Casper had an issue with his shoulder, which he clearly did. So yes, Sinisalo is a player I want to see a wee bit more of as well. Donovan, Kobe Donovan, I think, impressed in the first half against Queen's Park, up the right hand with Jude Bonner. I thought he linked up really well with Jude Bonner. They two guys obviously know each other, but in front of Donovan this time round will be Marco Tilio. And again, I'm going to go back to that introductory transfer window of Brendan Rodgers returning to Celtic Football Club, and we signed 9 players. And of the 9 players, the only one I think that will become a player for Celtic, as I sit here just now, is Paulo Bernardo, who came in at that point on loan. Obviously, the following season, that was changed to permanent. But one of the players that we brought in was Marco Tilio. He made 2 substitute appearances, totaling, I think it was 11 minutes, maybe 14 minutes of football for Celtic. And there were other issues. Now, we had Jared on here a few weeks back. Jared obviously has got his finger on the pulse when it comes to Australian football. Check out his own podcast as well, Celts Down Under. Jared Hill basically said that, yeah, Tilio was struggling to settle. Wasn't all to do with the tempo, the expectation, or the standard, but there was things going on back home in Australia. And Tilio went back home to be with his family, as well as obviously to get his fitness back up and his sharpness back up. He went over to Australia and he had a good season over there. He's had a good time, 18 months or so over back over in Australia. But he's back, and all he can do is play and impress. Now, maybe Brendan Rodgers has already made his mind up, but he seems to have made his mind up about Inamura. And Inamura went out and played pretty well. So Tilio, go out there and prove him wrong. I don't think he'll be a Celtic player, but I don't think Yang is a Celtic player. And if I'm Marco Tilio, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to do what Tilio do. I'm going to turn Brendan Rodgers his head. Nicholas Kuhn has just left the building, 16, 17 million quid away to Como. Okay, there's a space in the team here. So Tilio, I'm not saying here, don't misquote me, please. I'm not saying he's the answer. I'm not saying that he steps in. I'm not saying he's going to be like a new signing. But surely from his perspective, he sees this as an opportunity to impress the gaffer. Osmond, I said I'd come back to him. Yeah, 45 minutes. And it's going to take him a wee while to get up to speed. But I can only go by someone who has watched more English under-23 or Premier League 2 football than I have. And a good pal of mine has done a lot of scouting down there. And what he says to me is that every game he went to, the standard was sometimes better than some of the games you see in the Scottish Premiership. Listen, I've not seen it. I'm just telling you what the view was from someone who has seen it. And I'm not talking top of the table stuff, but I mean, maybe last season Ross County v Dundee might not have been a great spectacle. And maybe games involving Livingston this season might not be great spectacles, but the scout was down there and watching a lot of this type of football and raving about some of the talents that were on show. Now, Osman's coming from that environment. And albeit he's 19 years of age, and you look at what we've got at the football club at the moment, who's 19, they're playing Lowland League football, 5th tier Celtic B team. Osmond is coming from a higher level. Therefore, I think he'll be in and around the first team squad. Let's have another look at him. Looking forward to seeing a wee bit more of him. Ben McPherson as well. Always good to see players coming in who have been in the first team squad. Because I wanted to talk about this yesterday, going back to my point before. It was a topic I never got round to discussing. It looks as though we are shelling out a lot of players out of the B team and a lot of players out of the women's team. Now, what I wanted to talk about, and we'll probably do it sometime next week, is the strategy, the presentation that Paul Tisdale gave. I'm going to return to the notes that I was provided with. He gave it at the fans forum. He did mention the B team. He did mention the women's team. That comes under his umbrella. Have they looked at the strategy there and thought, right, the first thing we're going to do is get rid of a raft of players and we're going to start again? That's what it looks like to me. It looks like that's what we're going to do. Have they looked at the women's team and said, well, for Champions League progression or whatever the money is that comes in, it's not worth us trying to get into the Champions League. Maybe we should just be producing footballers, both at women's team level and B team level. And then what will happen down the line is we become a Champions League team at the women's level, based on players that we have reared from the Barrafields complex that we've just pumped £20 million into. Maybe that is the view. So we'll have a wee look at that. So it is good to see some of the youngsters coming back in. And strong midfield, McKeown, Hatate. It'll be great to see Rio back after his injury. It was so disappointing in the cup final. And of course, Callum McGregor, who doesn't take a day off, unlike me, because I'm a part-timer. Let's go to the action then. Go and watch it on Celtic TV. I might have done a watch along today, which was one of the suggestions before, but I'm on my Todd, and every 5 minutes you need a drink, because that's what happens. You get the old dry mouth, don't you? So go and enjoy the action. We'll be back at half-time on a Celtic State of Mind.